Would you like to hear the story about the tinker and mother last? Well, let's get started.
Once, in a country that lay between a ring road and a dream, there lived a tinker of words who kept odd hours and stranger hopes. By day, he mended broken links and crooked scripts. By night, he listened for footsteps that were not feet at all but beats, and for voices that were not mouths at all but wind along wires. He dwelt near a market called Sample City, where stallholders sold not apples and pins, but echoes, rumors, and the dust of forgotten choruses kept in glass jars. Now it came to pass that the tinker wished to weave a road which others might walk without leaving their chairs, a road that would pass through time as a thread passes through cloth. "I shall call it the Adventure," said he, "for the brave grow braver when a path is named." But the path would not appear for the asking, as true paths seldom do. And so he sought counsel. At the edge of Sample City stood a narrow shop, shuttered thrice, wherein sat a travel mistress with eyes like postage stamps and a bell that did not ring so much as remember. She was known as the Last Stop. "Mother Last," said the tinker, "how shall I make a road of story that men and women may tread with their ears?" She answered him in the old way of wise folk, which is to speak in riddles and to charge a fee that is not coin. "3 keepsakes you must fetch," said she, "or your road will lead nowhere, and your feet will learn sorrow. First, bring me the silence between. Second, the brick that remembers. Third, the key that rises. Then I shall tell you what you already know." The tinker bowed, for such errands were the kind that cannot be refused, and set out at once. He walked first to the field beyond the bypass, where 2 great speaker giants drowsed like oxen turned to stone. In their chests slept drums, and in their throats dozed thunder. Between the left giant's last breath and the right giant's first whisper, there hung a thin, cool silence, hardly more than a thread. Many had passed there and heard only noise, for noise is easy and quiet is dear. But the tinker, who had learned to count by listening, plucked the silence as one plucks a hair from a sleeping bear. He wound it round a spindle and hid it in his sleeve. Thus he took the silence between. Next he came to the river of spent things, where men cast what they could not carry and what they could carry but did not love. There, in the shallows, rose a pyramid of people's promises, small, rough bricks shaped from letters posted and kisses forgone. "Who keeps watch?" asked the tinker. "I," croaked a raven with tar on its wing. "And what is your price?" said the tinker. "Only that you remember," said the bird, "for remembrance is a heavier tax than silver." The tinker bowed again, for memory had long been his burden. He slid 1 brick from the side of the pyramid. It was warm, as if a hand had just set it down. He wrapped the brick that remembers in a page torn from yesterday and went on. For the 3rd keepsake he travelled farther than miles will measure, riding in a ford of time that knew all songs from their endings backward. He came to a tower whose lift did not descend by ropes but by wishes, and rose not by gears but by courage. Before the doors stood a caretaker with keys upon a ring, yet none glittered save a small dull one shaped like a question. "I seek the key that rises," said the tinker. "Then tell me," said the caretaker, "which floor is highest, the one that bears you or the one that awaits you?" The tinker thought long and answered, "The floor that awaits, for hope stands taller than standing." At this the dull key brightened, and the caretaker set it in the tinker's palm. Thus he won the key that rises. He returned to the Last Stop and laid the 3 keepsakes upon the counter, the coil of hush, the hot little brick, and the key, like a thought you cannot shake. "Now," said the travel mistress, "you shall pay." "I have no gold," said the tinker. "You shall pay with a promise," said she. "Promise me you will leave the door ajar for the lost and the late, the weary and the wild. Promise to set a lantern where strangers can see it, and to mark the path not with fences but with echoes." The tinker promised, which was dearer than gold. Then the travel mistress took up the keepsakes and made of them a charm. She bound the silence between to the brick that remembers, so that quiet might hold memory without breaking it. She turned the key that rises in the lock of nothing at all, and a stairway unfolded like a record sleeve. "There," she said, "is your road. Walk it thrice, once for the past, once for the possible, and once for the price." So the tinker walked. The first time he walked, he met a boy who could not speak except in sparks. The boy led him to a bath steaming in winter and laughed without sound. Not all warmth burns, thought the tinker, and he placed that truth in his pocket. The second time he walked, he found a gate that opened only when two said, "We," and he learned that some doors are too heavy for one back, but light as paper for two. The third time he walked, he came to a harbor where tickets were printed on courage and departures left at dawn and dusk alike. There he understood that every journey is a change of weather inside the heart. When he returned at last, the stairway curled itself like a sleeping cat, and the travel mistress was gone. Only her bell remained, and it remembered him kindly. The tinker carried his charm home and set it into the world with care, not fencing it with iron rules, but hedging it with riddles, as all good woods are hedged. He named it the KLF Adventure, for the letters stood like three standing stones, one for the keeper of silence, one for the lifter of keys, and one for the bricklayer of memory. Folks came by ones and by twos, by midnights and by Mondays, and those who walked the road heard what their feet were saying. Some said it was a game. Some said it was a map. Some said it was a mirror. All were a little right, and none were entirely wrong. And if you should ask what became of the tinker, know that he kept his promise. The door stands ajar, the lantern burns low but steady, and the path is marked with echoes, enough for any wanderer to find the way. For this is the lesson of the tale, that a road is made not from stones alone, but from the spaces between them, that memory is the mortar, and that the highest floor is still the one that awaits. So it was fashioned, so it is walked, and so if you mind your courage and your listening, you may walk it too.